How did the Immortals of Highlander come to be? In this video I'll be scrutinising the alien explanation of Highlander 2, exploring why, despite its title, Highlander the Source utterly failed to answer anything at all, and then I'll explain how the Source was meant to serve as the origin of immortality, and what it has to do with the Immortals being Foundlings. My name is David McMurdo, and welcome to Highlander Lore, where you learn the deepest Highlander lore from a Highlander. Neither Gregory Widen's original script or the original Highlander movie offer any explanation for how the Immortals came to be.
Why does the sun come up? Or are the stars just pinholes in the curtain of night? Who knows?
It was Highlander 2 that offered us the first explanation for the origin of the Immortals, or at least the original Highlander 2 did. As I explained in my overview of live-action Highlander, Highlander 2 The Quickening explained the Immortals as being alien exiles, and then in the Renegade version and the Special Edition, they changed it to make them time travelers from some lost civilization, which I'll call Atlantis for short. But actually, only the first of these backstories provides an origin of immortality. In Highlander 2 The Quickening, those that live on the planet Zeist are regular human beings. It's just a confusing coincidence that General Katana says this after winning his battle against the rebels.
I want MacLeod and find the one they call Ramirez.
And what about the others?
Kill them. I want all their heads.
There's a similarly confusing line of dialogue in the first movie.
I hoped you'd get your head chopped off.
Anytime you're watching Highlander with a newcomer, they'll go, wait, does he know about the Immortals? It's very annoying.
Yo! Shut it!
Anyway, in Highlander 2 The Quickening, immortality is a direct result of Zeistians being exiled to Earth.
You will be sent to the planet Earth. Once there, you will be immortal. You can only die if your head is cut from your body.
So, as misguided as it is, that is an explanation for the origin of the Immortals. But in the Renegade version and Special Edition, those that travel from Atlantis into the future are already immortals.
Judge them guilty, and I'll execute them here, now.
You forget yourself, General Katana. As you well know, for many years we have exiled those rebels and criminals who, like you, possess this unholy immortality.
So those versions of the movie don't provide an origin for immortality, they just push the existence of the Immortals further back into prehistory. Of course, after the negative reaction to Highlander 2, the producers made a point to remind audiences as often as possible that its alien origin wasn't canon to the franchise. In the very first episode of the TV show, there's a scene where Connor speculates about their immortal origins. The show never tried to provide an alternative explanation for the ultimate origin of the Immortals, but one element of the mythology it did introduce is that the Immortals are all Foundlings, meaning that they're literally all children found and of no known parents.
Men like us must preserve where we come from, because that is what makes us sane. That is what makes us holy.
Sure. If you come from somewhere, or someone.
You only say this because you don't know who your parents are. No immortal does.
I've always hated this because it's so unnecessary. There's really no reason that the Immortals couldn't just be born of mortal parents like everyone else. That is, unless you're laying the groundwork for a future explanation for the Immortals that you have in mind, and in my opinion, that's precisely what they were doing. You see, for years the producers would make reference to a concept called the Source in different ways.
We had to deal with what happens when an immortal is decapitated by something other than the sword of the immortal he was fighting. What we thought was, as long as an immortal is present, he gets the quickening. And if there is no immortal present, then the quickening just goes to the source.
So it wasn't too big a surprise when a movie called Highlander the Source was announced. What was a surprise was not only how bad the Source was as a movie, but also the fact that it didn't have one thing to teach us about the origin of the Immortals. And lest there be any rewriting of history on this subject, it was absolutely intended to explain those origins. The very fact that it dealt with something called the Source proves that, as does every bit of marketing prior to and since the movie's release. The description of the movie on Amazon Prime Video UK even now reads, "As he roams a crumbling city, the Highlander remembers happier times. Alone, he hooks up with a band of immortal companions, including his mysterious friend Mythos and Immortal, Joe. Together, they set out on a quest to find the origin of the first Immortal and the source of their immortality." Highlander the Source was described in such ways from the moment it was announced, and yet, in hindsight, it seems like such descriptions were written for a completely different movie. Before I turn to look at what Highlander the Source is really about, please like the video, click the bell icon for notifications, and subscribe to help the channel. If you're interested in even more content than these weekly videos, then check out the Highlander Lore Patreon account for a monthly podcast, the Highlander Hypotheticals, and other material. Thank you very much for watching. According to Highlander the Source is a phenomenon that manifests on Earth every several thousand years.
One of the monks took me to a place where it last happened over 10,000 years ago.
Its manifestation is caused by the planets coming into alignment.
The planets of our solar system have moved outside their orbital paths and are coming into alignment.
But that could just be orbital wobble.
The Earth is going to be bombarded with cosmic radiation.
The moment of the source?
Now, I don't know anything about astronomy or related fields, but I have a feeling that what's being said here makes the shield logic of Highlander 2 seem rock solid by comparison.
How about, for starters, that there simply isn't enough energy on the planet to take down the shield without killing us all? If I'm going too fast, slow me down, but I think you should know this all, Alan.
But that was only in case the shield was threatened.
Yes, you're right to laugh, David. That's not me speaking to myself, by the way. His name is David too. So what exactly does Highlander the Source tell us about the Source as it relates to the origin of the Immortals? Well, like I said, absolutely nothing. In fact, from the beginning of the movie, the Source is presented as something that could either heal the world or destroy it. Here's Mythos' opening narration from the Russian cut of the movie.
It is said that as the world descends into chaos, the Source will again appear. Will it bring salvation or death? In truth, no one really knows.
And you know what the funny thing is? We actually learn little more than what Mythos just told us there throughout the course of the movie, but it is consistent in mostly presenting the Source as something that the heroes hope will heal the world.
It's all going crazy out there. The Source better be some big medicine or else we're all going down the toilet.
Which explains the decision to once again have a Highlander movie set in a kind of post-apocalyptic world. There's just 3 lines of dialogue in the entire movie that suggest that the Immortals do believe that they might learn the reason for their immortality by finding the Source. The first is from the Elder when he recounts how he and his immortal companions once sought the Source. A search, by the way, that could only have occurred, again, in some Atlantis-like prehistory.
All of us immortals, from different tribes, all seeking the truth. We all thought we would find the answer in the Source.
The second is from Reggie.
Why are you here?
For the truth.
And the third is from Duncan.
I always believed that one day the light bulb would come on and I would know why I spent the last 400 years cutting people's heads off to survive. I would know why I am what I am.
But when Duncan actually does find and enter the Source, he, and by extension the audience, don't learn anything at all. His lover Anna gets pregnant, and in the Russian cut, Duncan says this of the child.
He is the one.
I think he said this because Highlander the Source was intended to be the first movie of a new trilogy, probably featuring that child grown up.
I'm Bill Panzer, producer of Highlander. Welcome to downtown Vilnius in Lithuania, and the start of Highlander, the Source, the next generation of Highlander.
And I think the reason the line was removed from the Western cut was that by that point, it was obvious that Highlander the Source wouldn't be spawning any sequels. So in the end, after the producers referring to the Source as the origin of immortality for nearly 2 decades, when they finally get around to making a movie about it, all it ends up being is a way for Duncan to in some sense win the prize without having to kill off every other immortal first.
I feel our child.
I don't hate any Highlander entry, live action or animated, and I've previously alluded to the fact that there are some things about even Highlander the Source that I like. Duncan's ending in the source is one of them. First of all, being a Connor MacLeod style romantic myself, it gets me misty-eyed every time, I'm not going to lie. And secondly, if you're going to end an Immortal character's story without repeating the first movie's mistake of ending the game as well, then this isn't a bad way to do it. And don't worry, there's no limit to the amount of useless Highlander knowledge I have in my brain, and based on the isolated and scattered statements made by the producers across the years, I think I can piece together how the source was originally intended to serve as the origin of the Immortals. Quite simply, the source was meant to randomly generate immortal babies out in the world. It would continuously be doing this throughout time, whether or not it was manifesting on Earth as seen in the movie, which is precisely why the TV series established that they were Foundlings.
The night my lady wife gave birth to my only son, stillborn, I was brought into a chamber by a peasant woman, a boy child, to replace that which was lost. I do not believe you. Is that truth? And when the midwife looked into your eyes, for it was you the peasant brought in, she cringed back in fear and said you were a changeling, left by the forest demons, and we should cast you out for the dogs!
Looking ahead to the reboot of the Highlander franchise, I personally think that the origin of the Immortals should never be explained, because the mystery is always going to be more compelling than any answer that could possibly be provided. But the question of where the Immortals should come from has always been a contentious one within the Highlander community, and fans have had plenty of their own theories, ranging from the Immortals being fallen angels to them being the genetic experiments of a lost civilization. So let me know what you think. I'll be back next week with a video about my favourite of the Highlander movie villains, but until then, thank you very much for watching, and remember, in the end, there can be only one.